In 48 states, it is a crime to share a nude photograph of someone else without their consent. Yet these days, the data suggests it's as common as ever. What are the risks, the liability for sexting, and the related offense known as revenge porn? And is it time to have a conversation with your teenager? Joining us this morning from Burlington, Zach Dano. He's an attorney with Gravel and Shea. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Stuart.
Define sexting before we start, and the difference between sexting and the other term you hear, revenge porn.
Yeah, so sexting means different things to different people, but generally speaking, it's when individuals share intimate photographs or messages, sexually intimate photos or messages with one another. Revenge porn, on the other hand, is also known as non-consensual pornography, and that refers to the non-consensual distribution of intimate images of another. And so again, it's non-consensual, and in 48 states, including Vermont, it's illegal.
Okay. Sexting, a term, to be honest, which I was unfamiliar with until the last few years. Is this mostly involving, teenagers and young people, or not?
No, it involves everyone. Teenagers do engage in this behavior, but also adults. There's been a recent analysis of several studies found that about 20% of teenagers have sent a sext. The number jumps to 35% of teenagers have reported receiving a sext, and experts believe that those numbers are underreported because teenagers tend to underreport that type of behavior. And then in terms of adults, individuals 18 and over, one recent study found that 80% of adults surveyed have sent or received a sext in the last year alone.
The Violence Against Women Act, which has been passed by Congress and signed into law, offers some expanded protections for victims of sexting or revenge porn. And I want to ask you about that. How big a change is this?
Yeah, so it's a huge change, and to focus it combats revenge porn, the non-consensual sharing of intimate images. Sexting, a lot of times is consensual, and so when you're dipping into the term revenge porn, that is what this new federal law combats. So in March of 2022, President Biden signed into law the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act, and that's a wide-sweeping piece of legislation. It builds on the successes of the original Violence Against Women Act, which was signed into law in 1994, and throughout the years has been reauthorized. And this most recent reauthorization includes lots of resources for survivors of sexual assault, survivors of domestic violence, and one of the specific provisions of the new law is what you referred to, that targets revenge porn. And so what that does is it allows a private individual to sue a private individual that is a victim of revenge porn. Mm-hmm. So someone who's had their intimate images shared without their consent, it allows them to sue the perpetrator.
And face what kind of liability?
And to seek. Yeah, so that's a great question. It's a civil suit, and so it allows the victim to seek money damages. And one of the important components of the new law is that it sets the amount of damages at $150,000. And so a victim can seek more than that, but it kind of sets the floor at that. And why that's really important is because in a lot of civil lawsuits, it's really hard to prove and put a number on emotional damages. And so what the new federal law does is it streamlines that process, and it opens the door to victims of non-consensual pornography, and it allows them to go to the court to hold the person who shared the images without their consent, hold them accountable.
What has been your firm's experience with respect to the damage that an unauthorized distribution of a nude image has on a victim?
Yeah, it's devastating, there's wide-ranging fallout from that misconduct. And here at Gravel and Shea, we work with a lot of sexual assault survivors, a lot of victims, survivors of childhood sexual abuse, and also victims of non-consensual pornography. And one thing we really try to focus on is trauma-based, trauma-informed care and advocacy, because when someone experiences this, it's severely traumatic. It's embarrassing. A lot of times it's an extreme violation of trust, and it can be extremely isolating. And so it's really important for victims to know that they're not alone, that there's resources out there for them, that there's a support network out there for them, and to use that support network.
So, last question then, what is your advice to parents and maybe to teenagers who may not fully appreciate the issues involved here?
Yeah, so to parents, I would say talk to your kids. It can be a really uncomfortable conversation to have, but it's an important one. With technology these days seemingly everywhere, the studies and the numbers prove that this happens, and so it's really important to talk to your kids about the smart use of technology, how to engage in safe relationships, and how to deal with peer pressure, all those kind of issues that are tangentially related. And it's also really important to talk to your kids about the consequences of this conduct. The teenage brain is not fully developed, and so helping kids kind of approaching that conversation without judgment, but helping them realize the kind of long-ranging consequences that can happen with this behavior.
Zach Dano, attorney with Gravel and Shea, downtown Burlington. Many thanks for your time. Thanks for being on NBC5 In Depth.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.